Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I am Kevin Ferguson, a.k.a. The Money Man. I've got Gavin and Rich with me. Rich pickings again. Gav, we chatted towards the dying of the embers last week about the Stormers and the Bulls. And I picked the Storm. I picked against the Stormers, and I picked the Bulls.
Yeah.
But I didn't bet money on it. That was my advice.
Okay.
You got it right. Again. I mean,
what did I say about the Storm? I think I said
you said the Stormers to win.
I said the Stormers to win. I said, but in truth, it's a game that
I
wouldn't want to bet on.
And we haven't bet. So use it for your office pools and various other things. The advice we give on this until we get stuck in.
Yeah.
I am amazed, absolutely amazed by Dobbo. We released Zellum Nell to go and do the statistical analysis. So I'm thinking that SA Rugby and my business should take a bit of the credit for the Stormers 6 or 7-0 start to the season. They are defying every logic that I know. They're developing depth. Mm-hmm. They beat Munster in Munster with no Springboks. They won again last week. And they're a team that Dobbo is bleeding back into it. He's not done the whole Sharks and get all the Springboks in the game and give it a good go. He's looking at it pragmatically and introducing when and if he feels he needs to, and he hasn't yet. So I am blown away, Gav, by the Stormers' approach to this season and an undefeated start and campaign.
Well, I think that the extent of the Boyan achievement only came home to me yesterday. I've been speaking to Cheslin Colby, who you've probably heard of.
Heard of him, yeah.
Cheslin Colby, a Springbok wing. I was talking to him in Japan yesterday because some other thing I'm doing, and he told me that he played 5 or 6 years in France, and he played for strong French teams.
Yeah.
And he said he never ever won in beyond. He said he played there several times, and he said he's yet to, or he'll never, unless he comes back and plays for the Stormers.
Yeah.
He won't be winning in beyond. So that shows you the extent of that achievement. And I didn't realize they were that formidable, but they were 5th or 6th on the top 14 log.
Well, when you look at the way that game ended, it was very much reminiscent of the Bok game against Ireland, wasn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, the Stormers have become almost like a bit of a mini-me of the box, in the sense that their scrumming culture is outstanding. They've got guys that just come in. I mean, I don't. If you watch that game, I was really impressed with Ntutuku Machunu down from the Shark.
I'm impressed you can pronounce the name.
Well, I suppose I've been watching him for years. So Ntutuku Machunu.
I'm still impressed.
Tooks, as I think Dobbo calls him.
Yeah.
He didn't carry the ball that much, but when he did, you could see why he's going to enjoy playing for the Stormers, because they play to his strengths. He loves carrying the ball.
Yeah.
And then of course you've got Vernon Matonga, who didn't even take part in that game at all, but who's going to be a Springbok one of these days. So, and then on the tight head side, they didn't have Zachary Porthen, who played for the Boks the week before, but who's back in the mix probably this week. But they don't need to select him because they've got such strong tight heads. Sazi Sandi is a very underrated tight head as well. So they've got incredible depth in the front row. They've got great depth at lock at the moment as well. I know Ruben van Heerden's leaving at the end of the season, but maybe he'll come back into the mix this week because Andre Smith was a bit stupid in that game. Got to get him that red card. So I would imagine he's been suspended. I haven't actually. It's early in the week, so we wouldn't have heard yet. But then at loose forward, because Rassie doesn't choose Evan Roos, They've got good depth there as well. Ben Jason Dixon back. The funny thing about the Stormers is that it's in the forwards that they have their depth at the moment. Not so much at the back. They have got a little bit, but you saw what happened last week. Warwick Galant was injured beforehand, so he didn't play. So Wandisile Similani had to move from centre to fullback, which isn't ideal, although he's done really well at fullback. So the Stormers have done amazingly. I mean, nobody's really come close. Has anybody come with?
But you know what impresses me the most about the Stormers? You know what impresses me about the Stormers? When I look at them playing, they play north and south rugby. So it means that they go forward. They get the gain line. Yeah. They are breaking through. They're always in sniping around, going forward, and it's great to watch. It's not sideways momentum or anything like that. It's impressive. I cannot say, and I can't. I'm trying to figure it all out as I do every day in sports. There's always something to figure out if you're a punter.
Yeah.
And what has Dubbo done? Because if I'd have said it's easy now with hindsight to look back and say the Stormers are 7 or 8-0. They're looking the best in the division, without actually being the best in the division. I would have put the Stormers down for qualifying 8th.
Yeah, well, I mean, that phrase, "you more than some of your parts," actually sums up the Stormers at the moment. Look, I mean, they're always cagey if you ask them what the secret is, but I think the one thing that the Stormers did right this year, which some of the other franchises and provinces didn't. We can discount the Sharks because they have so many Springboks, so they don't have a proper pre-season because of their contracting. Their contract model is just ridiculous.
Look, and the Stormers are owned by guys that are involved in Capitec.
Yeah,
good guys. If they wanted to be pocket money boys and blow the budgets and do what stuff is for the ego,
yeah,
they could do that. They could run it like a Mazzotti.
They could do that.
But they haven't. They haven't.
Yeah.
They put in good structures. They put in good communities. Nick Mallet. I know Mark Keohane's been involved with the committee. We gave them Zellum Nell and recommended him, which was a big thing for us because Zellum was a big part of our business. For us just to say, okay, no, take him for the betterment of rugby in this country.
Yeah.
And he hasn't put a foot wrong. From what I understand, they enjoy him. They enjoy the engagement with him, and they enjoy the work.
Yeah.
And it's not gone amiss. And so when I look at the Stormers team, they seem to be quietly developing talent.
But it's not even that. You mentioned Zell. And from what I understand, and I got this from Mark, is that Zelling was instrumental in getting Clinton Swart, who I thought was a ridiculous appointment from Nelspruit.
Yeah.
This guy's 34 years old. He's built like a prop, actually. Well, I mean, with respect, he looks like he could be a forward. And you watch this guy, but he actually played really well in that game, and he's just what they needed in that particular game. But just going back to what I think the Stormers have done right, because I've just mentioned a Currie Cup player, is that they never focused at all in Currie Cup this year. They played 7 players.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to see.
Great. So they took the Currie Cup for what it should be, unlike the Lions and unlike the Bulls up until a certain point when Johan Ackerman came in, and then he also changed their policy. But you need to have a proper off season, and the Stormers had that, and so they did all their training. They've got enough depth here, which the Sharks don't have.
Those benefits now coming through.
I think the benefits of having a proper preseason and working on their game during that preseason instead of having a Currie Cup to deflect interest. Interest to deflect focus is a huge part of the Stormers' success. I just think that all the that they've all got to wise up. I'm talking about all the franchises that the Currie Cup shouldn't be focused on. It should be seen what it is as a development competition. No, there were no Currie Cup Stormers big name players who played in the Currie Cup this year, and they had that time off as for a proper preseason. Even somebody like, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, JC Mars, wasn't in the Currie Cup squads, and he's a young player who could have maybe benefited from play. I know he was injured as well, but I do think that's a big part of it, is that they worked on. They had a preseason. They had a proper preseason. The Sharks didn't have a preseason because of their contracting model. They had about 8 people there when I was in Durban at one stage when I went to a training session. And the Bulls, well, they have got a lot of depth, and they started out by playing a lot of Currie Cup games. URC players in the Currie Cup. So they also didn't completely have a preseason, and they also let's not forget about the Bulls. They also changed their coach during the off season. So you get a new coach. There's always going to be a sort of settling in period and a bedding down period. But the Stormers were the most settled because they've got the same coaches, and the coaches focused on a proper off season. I would say that there's probably more knitting. If you had Dobbo here, he'd probably go into technicalities. But I think the overall summation is they had a proper off-season.
Okay. So, straight up, you've got the Stormers playing Stade
La Rochelle. Let's just call them La Rochelle.
La
Rochelle.
I'm not French, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The games in PE?
Quebec, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually the funny thing about PE, is that if you go there, a lot of the road signs are still Port Elizabeth.
Well,
I mean,
it's,
they
how much does
obviously
it
can't
cost?
afford to. They can't
Afford to change it. It's, well, let's change stuff that we can afford to.
Yeah.
How about feeding the homeless, you know?
You got a Quebec game. I actually did it as a joke, because I went to the corresponding game last year. The game and they played against Toulon this time last year, and I stopped somebody on the side of the road. Can you tell me where I can find Quebec? Because I only see signs for PE.
Gav, you're a bit of an idiot. I'm sorry.
No,
you're a bit of a hilarious guy.
No.
Not an idiot. I'm sorry.
I know I'm an idiot sometimes.
No.
Yeah.
You're my beautiful idiot. You know. It's
Well,
I've got
a good record at predicting who wins, so I can't be too much of an idiot.
Well, 15 out of 16 is legendary. I mean, people don't understand how difficult that is against the spread.
Yeah.
I'm seeing now the Stormers are favored 1.11, so they're probably on about 9.5, 10.5 point handicap.
Okay.
What's your prediction for that? And let's chat about the conditions. I don't know what it's supposed to be like, but it should be reasonable conditions in PE. Summertime. You've got that stadium though is like quicksand. It's not fast flowing. It doesn't ease and the ball roll. I mean, it's a coarse ground. It's made for drainage, isn't it? It was built for drainage.
Yeah. Look, the thing that would worry me about this game for the Stormers is that I think that sometimes the French can almost overcompensate. They think they come here. It's what Toulon did last year. They came here and they almost overcompensated when it came to the physicality. They believe that you've got to be really physical. So,
well, the Stormers seem to have a no-nonsense approach to rugby.
They're a huge team, La Rochelle. Okay, they're not with it. They don't have Will Skelton this week because he's been deregistered, but probably because of an injury.
But how many guys? Who are they going to travel with? I'm not convinced they'll travel with their full team.
Well, that's true because they won well at the weekend. So
they'll keep their guys back to
was
play.
Was it Leicester Tigers that they beat 39-20? So
Yeah.
I would imagine that it favours the Stormers that La Rochelle won last week because it means that they might not be as
well. The never-ending cycle is to not send a good team here.
Yeah.
Keep guys back to play the following week.
But it's also with the French teams. It also depends where they are on the log, and if they're relegation threatened, then they go really under strength because then they're going to have to focus on.
They're mid-table.
Because remember, there's a horrible. They're not really. They're 10th out of 14. So and two teams drop there. So they just have to drop a little bit further, and they're in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
So that might, if I was Ronan O'Gara,
that plays into a Stormers.
Exactly. So because then they've won the last week. They picked up 5 points last week. So they don't I don't know who they'll be playing their remaining home game. But you can normally get out of your group by just winning 2 home games.
3.
Well, three preferably, but you can actually get through.
Well, I think
pick up a bonus point somewhere.
Yeah, top 5 out of 6 go on.
Yeah,
4 into the European Championship and 1 into the.
Well, there's a round of 16, so it's quite a lot of teams.
Yeah. So I like the Stormers to win this game by 15-20.
Yeah, I would go more around 10 to 15. I just there have been some very close games between these two teams over the years, and I think that despite everything we're saying about why La Rochelle might come under strength, I think there's a little bit of history between these two teams as well.
Yeah,
because they remember the year before last, La Rochelle came to Cape Town. And the Stormers won the first game. They won the league game. I think Moni Lebok kicked a conversion in the last seconds to win that game. And then in the next game, which was the round of 16 game, the Stormers lost in the last minutes when Moni actually missed a conversion. So there is that kind of history. They've had very close games, but I do expect the Stormers to win. And I agree with you. I just don't know if I'd go above 15. I think there's too many good players in that La Rochelle setup. They are past champions. They've got a lunatic of a coach in Ronan O'Gara who will amp them up because he's incredibly competitive. And I think they're also one of the teams that, there are some teams that like the Champions Cup more than they like their league, and they are one of those teams that maybe cook in the Champions Cup more than they do because they are past winners.
Okay, should be.
So I would say between 10 and 15, but
okay, I'm going to say 15-20.
I'll be pleased with 10 and 15 from a Stormers viewpoint.
Of course you will. Okay. Yeah. Continue the perfect season. Sharks versus Saracens. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a difficult one because it's early in the week now, so we don't know who Saracens have brought with them. But they won well last week as well.
47-10 against Clermont.
They won very well. So that also is another thing. It might take a little bit of the pressure off. And it's I should have actually checked beforehand who they play in the Premiership the following week, because sometimes that does have a say. The Sharks have a new coach, as you know, in JP Peterson. Sometimes when you have a new coach, just the fact that there's a new voice in the dressing room might get you up. But we know already that the Sharks are without Oxenshare, they're without Eben Etzebeth, and they don't have a lot of depth in those positions. So it's going to be a very close one, Kevin. I'm actually not. It's one of those ones that I wouldn't want to bet on, because I've got a feeling that Saracens will come with a stronger team.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds? I'd love to know what they are.
I'm trying to get them now for you, bud.
I just think that in Durban at this time of the year, that there's the humidity to take into account.
Mm-hmm.
Saracens won't be used to that, but it will be like a sweat bath. So you don't have high scoring games.
Saracens are favored by 1.7, so they'll be 3.5, 4-point favorites. You know,
I'd say that's pretty close to what it could be.
I think you've got an absolute disheveled Sharks team.
Yeah.
A new coach.
The new coach.
I don't see. Well, the new coach is not autonomous. If he was wielding his own Excalibur,
John Plumtree.
Exactly. So I'm saying, if he was
the Sharks are there's been like that grey area. They had a director of rugby. Nobody knew who was the boss. Now there's a little bit more clarity. But one week you can't change everything in 1 week. But sometimes,
have you got more clarity?
Sometimes no, I haven't. Sometimes look, I mean, I thought that they played with a lot more pluck. That young team played with a lot more pluck against Toulouse the other day.
Yeah.
Although they lost. Some of those youngsters really sort of put themselves on the line.
Yeah,
so
they only lost by 43 points.
No, it was it was 37. But it's against Toulouse.
It was
Toulouse.
Oh yes, it was 37. You're right.
Against Toulouse in Toulouse.
Excusez-moi.
And even Antoine Dupont was back.
Yeah.
But the Sharks, I do know that because I went up there in September and there was a lot of stuff. Saracens were there on a friendly trip, and there's a lot of build up to this game. I mean, they went under strength in this game last week because of this game.
Who?
The Sharks.
Yeah.
Because they feel that they couldn't, because there's only a 6-day turnaround, and the Saracens obviously played on Saturday, so. Mm-hmm. So that's why they went. I mean, the South African teams do have a big disadvantage when it comes to having to meet the logistical challenge. I would want to know, if I was betting, I would want to know whether, for instance, Owen Farrell has come. If he hasn't come, then it will, or Moro Toja has come. I would imagine that they have. If those top players have come, and they come here with the mission to win, then I think they will, because I think the Sharks will still have a bit of rebuilding to do, and that's an understatement. They'll go all out, the Sharks, because they've targeted this game. I would say that like a very close win for Saracens would possibly be a good bet.
Yeah, I kind of like Saracens to win by 3 or 4.
Yes, I think
they'll win. So I'm going to take the 1.7 outright, 70% return on your money.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd go for.
It's
the other game's easy to predict.
The other game.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking?
Well, the Bulls game.
Who are they playing?
They're playing Northampton Saints at Franklin Gardens.
At Northampton.
And the reason I say that it's easy to predict is the Bulls are going to have to go under strength, and I'll tell you why. Is that the week after this, the 20th, which is probably the game we'll be talking about next week, is the start of the derbies phase of the URC season, and the Bulls are due in Durban to play against the Sharks. And that's a huge game because the Bulls are in that sort of in between period in the log.
Yeah, look, the reality is you're looking at 1.02 for Northampton, so they're about 19 to 20 point favorites.
They should be.
So it's a massive blowout on the cards for the bookies.
Yeah. And it's because they have to go under strength.
Yeah.
So you look at it. They've got to, because there's a 6. I'm right in saying it's a Sunday game as well. So there's a 6-day turnaround.
Yeah.
There's a 6-day turnaround between them being in Franklin Gardens and then having to play in Durban. So they're going to leave all their top players at home. The Bulls, to me, the Bulls' challenge for Champions Cup is already done.
Losing that game at home.
You lose at home, you okay, they did pick up a bonus point, but I don't think that's going to make. I don't think they're going to pick up any bonus points in Franklin Gardens, and I think that the Bulls are going to end up probably not making it out of their pool. But like the Stormers were last year.
Well, we got to remember that betting is fun. Not everybody. We can't turn everybody into a professional gambler.
No, we don't.
People chase their bets and do everything else. But if you're planning to have a punt, please remember to do so responsibly. If you or someone that you know is struggling and needs support, the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation is available 24/7, 365. You can reach them on 0800 006 008 or via WhatsApp 076 675 0710. So be responsible, folks out there. Don't go chasing your money. As that song said, don't go chasing waterfalls, Thought I'd drop that in there, bud, Yeah. You're old enough to remember the thing.
I'm old enough. I'm not a complete idiot. Yeah.
But stay responsible, folks. Don't be chasing money. The two bets I like this weekend are the Stormers plus 10 and Saracens to win outright. Yeah. Stay away from everything else. Save some money for Christmas and have a great weekend. Gav, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.